Must be aligned with that.
That's what I was.
It's a little after 5. I'd like to call the July 14th board meeting to order and ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
None this evening.
Board's wishes.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comment. If you wish to share your thoughts, please provide your name and address after being acknowledged by the board chair. Each speaker has 2 minutes to express their remarks. Steele County promotes respect in both its work environment and boardroom. Speakers should maintain dignity and show respect towards others. Comments should be directed to the entire board, not to an individual commissioner, official, or staff. The board chair may limit comments if they're argumentative, disrespectful, or redundant. Please avoid name calling and abusive language, as they may result in being asked to return to your seat or to leave the boardroom. No action will be taken on items during the public comment period unless they are on the agenda. The board may refer inquiries to the county administrator for follow-up. Is there any public comment at this time?
Good evening, Melissa Zimmerman. I ask the proposed digital data retention policy be removed from the consent agenda and discussed publicly. This policy raises significant concerns about government transparency, records preservation, and compliance with Minnesota law. It deserves public discussion, not approval without explanation. The policy automatically deletes emails after 14 months and instant messages after 30 days, yet many county projects span years. The East Side Corridor has been under consideration for nearly 5 years. Important decisions and discussions often occur long before the final vote. How can the public have confidence that government records will still exist if electronic communications are automatically deleted after just over a year? We've recently seen federal courts address the use of auto-deleting signal chat messages at the federal level, highlighting the importance of preserving government records. This policy raises similar concerns. The policy also relies on employees to determine which emails must be preserved, but the board packet does not include the county guidelines explaining how those decisions are made. I'm also concerned that this policy may establish retention periods that differ from Minnesota's approved record retention schedules. Before adopting it, has the county obtained any required approvals from the state records disposition panel? If so, those approvals should be provided to the board and to the public. These concerns are not hypothetical. Steele County is currently responding to ongoing Minnesota Government Data Practices Act requests, and the East Side Corridor remains the subject of active litigation before the Minnesota Court of Appeals. Because of these, the county is legally required to preserve records relevant to those matters, including emails and instant messages, for approximately the last 10 years as this project has been ongoing. This board should ensure that adoption of this policy does not result in the deletion of records that may be subject to those preservation obligations. I respectfully ask the board to remove this item from the consent agenda, provide the supporting retention schedules and any state approvals, and allow this policy to be discussed publicly before any vote is taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Any other public comment at this time?
Colin Whalen, 2435 Briarwood Place Northeast. I worked in IT for over 30 years and have some background in records retention guidelines, should always take into account whether a project or topic is still active. Even then, a typical time window, once that topic is no longer active, is several years, with 3 to 5 years being typical. And that's beyond the end of the active project. What is the problem that you are attempting to address with the elimination of the emails and the instant messages? Is there a list of IT expenses that, if there is a list of IT expenses, storage space typically in our industry is relatively inexpensive at this point. And so I'm just curious, what is the problem that has not been articulated that's trying to be solved here? Oftentimes, yes, storage space is very much on the low side of what's being charged for in IT, and also with emails and instant messages, that information takes up very little space as far as being consumed on servers. The sudden push to delete emails, effectively the only paper trail that exists in many levels at the county, appears to be an intentional effort to remove the very data needed to provide transparency and accountability, especially considering the county still has unmet obligations to data practices, specifically with the aforementioned East Side Corridor project. That those data requests still need to be completed, and there's been incomplete emails or unreadable emails from that process. So setting up some sort of an auto delete at a 14-month period with no discernment in there is extremely concerning. So at best, this move is irresponsible and further obfuscates the transparency of our local government dealings. Please reconsider this action tonight and remove this vote from the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and move on to correspondence. Is there any correspondence?
None this evening.
Next is the consent agenda. Board's wishes.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I would like to remove that retention policy for more discussion.
From the consent agenda?
I think there's some questions in there that can be answered.
So we'll remove number 13. Would you like to approve the rest of the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve that removal.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing number 13, approve the email retention policy.
I'll second that.
There's a second. Is there any disapproval discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda with removal of 13, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So number 13, should we bring that up now, or?
Measure of their practice, yes.
Yeah, all right, so next on the agenda would be about the retention policy for emails.
Mr. Chair, this was discussed in committee. Who's on our committee and what was the discussion? And give a little more background on how we arrived at 14 months. And I believe in reading this, there is some discretion in that policy that allows us or says that we should retain records beyond the 14 months. Is that correct?
In certain circumstances, absolutely. And I think for the board's benefit, the subject of email retention has been discussed by department heads for almost the entire time that I've been here. Because it's not just one email. I mean, every appointment, every meeting is dozens of emails as everybody keeps talking to one another. So there has to be a way of removing that information so that it doesn't, clog up the system and whatnot. And people use their emails, file cabinets. We're looking for a contract, or we're looking for a document that can be easily moved on to the OneDrive and saved. So this was something that was discussed by department heads. The 14 months was identified as giving us at least a year to use the information in that email as that kind of remote file cabinet, because you might be looking for a contact name or number. I mean, email is used for a lot of things, correspondence-wise, and so ultimately the 14 months meant that if it was maybe like a recurring practice, and you needed the name of a consultant, or you needed the name of some information, at least, you know, if this is something that happens every year, that we're out 14 months so that, you know, we're not using it as a file cabinet, and we are in fact using the OneDrive and using other resources to save important stuff, but then jettisoning the information that isn't necessary, isn't of a sensitive nature. But clearly the policy identifies that any litigation holds would supersede our deletion policy and that sort of thing. And I'm gonna turn it over to Robin, and Dave actually put in a tremendous amount of research looking at nationwide best practices for data retention, specifically related to emails and instant messaging. Our OneDrive has a perpetual retention period. Obviously, other records could have a 6-year retention period or a 1-year retention period, and so we generally abide by the State Department of, I don't know if it's the history or which society it is that governs counties, but we definitely follow those practices when it comes to things like our financial records and contracts and that sort of thing. So Rob, I don't know if you wanna take it from here?
Yeah, just as far as data retention goes, the county is different than the city. The county is governed by the Minnesota Historical Society. All department heads have a copy of their data retention. And so obviously that any emails that would be applicable to a retention schedule within that would have to be saved and would be saved. And so email is not a specific thing, and so the general communications we can set at any retention schedule that we'd like, whether that be a week, 180 days or more, whatever we'd like. Other cities have workforce, such as Rochester, 180 days. In Prairie, set there is not going to be 12 months. That's been that way for some time. Just looked at like the city of St. Paul's, 180 days. Some emails are even 14 days. So it's whatever you'd like. Ultimately, it comes down to in my view, since we don't have the resources on these onslaught of data requests to go through an unbelievable amount of emails over one topic. For example, tonight's board meeting, there's how many staff members here, there's how many board members here, that generates at least 100 different items that have to be reviewed just for one meeting. And so if we don't have a purpose for those emails, it's my recommendation to delete them because we don't need them. And so the 14 months was a compromise brought up between department heads who we oftentimes do things on an annual basis. And so at least 14 months is able to go back a year from before and see what we did a year ago, which is a lot of company businesses typically done once a year. So it was a good compromise. And then there's HR purposes and other things that were looked into for big instant messages and things. So the board ultimately has authority over its records within this area and can set the policy as it so desires. And so that's what staff recommended to the
Internal subject.
ICS board and ICS committee, and that's what has been forward today, presented today, based on the recommendation of all myself, IT director, and county administrator.
Would you like to add anything, Dave?
Well, a couple of different things. Number one, email is not typically considered to be a source of record. It is a an ability to transfer information. That's what email is for. The items which we do are required to retain, we're still required to retain. But the email is typically something which we do not have to have requirements or we don't have to retain for extended periods of time. Like I said, other counties are running much shorter than 14 months. And the primary driver behind that, frankly, something that hit the metro counties first was the weaponized FOIA requests, where they're getting requests for information that they have to extract, that they have to be able to provide for situations where some of the requests that are coming in have nothing whatsoever to do with anything that's being actually actionable. It's just organizations attempting to shut down local government and make it unfeasible. The additional cost that is hit by retaining these extremely long records are things that are typically seen within the county attorney's office, where redactions and review has to take place. So there's an awful lot of those kinds of things that drive the decisions here. I lean upon you know, the legal assessment that's been going on, you know, that Rob's been looking at with this. But know that we are absolutely, when there is litigation that's in play, we've got litigation holds that are in place indefinitely, basically, until those things are resolved. We've had some of those that have taken place that even when McIntyre was here that lasted for years during some of those national settlements where we had to retain documentation and including emails from people who no longer are employed here. So it's something which we take very, very seriously. This is an effort to try to reduce the bloat. And the interesting thing is that even some people that have come in to look at emails and look at these various documents, they get overwhelmed by the amount of information, the fact that they're seeing the same email 12 different times because there were 12 people that were involved in a particular conversation thread. It's a big lift. It really is.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the email retention policy? Alright. Any other discussion on the email retention policy?
Mr. Chair, just a comment, like, you know, it appears, or it sounds like we're certainly within the norm, if not greater than a lot of municipalities that you pointed out. But I believe, and my computer's booting up, but I think there's some language in that policy that says that we will store longer if it's deemed to be necessary, or something along those lines.
Yes, so like even on litigation hold, myself and Dave will take an annual check on what we have on the litigation hold and ensure that it's continued and it's capturing everything that's current, or for any other purpose. Litigation hold is most likely a scenario, but yes.
Mr. Chairman, I address this to Rob. So it says the policy does not alter obligations to preserve records subject to legal hold or other mandated retention requirements. But by doing this, I'm taking it, we're relieving the burden of unwanted data requests that just bog us down, is that what we're?
Correct.
Because the fact of the matter is, sometimes data requests are used like a stalling weapon, and it just gets overbearing sometimes. So we're not doing nothing illegal, so with that, I make a motion to approve the data retention policy here.
Well, second.
Motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next, we're at the July employee anniversary. Welcome, Dina.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm here tonight to present to you our July employee anniversaries. I'll start off with Jessica Bedney, record specialist in the sheriff's office, 9 years of service. Spring Tycro, probation officer, 9 years of service, as well as Ashley Schultz, probation officer, 9 years of service. Jake Tasker just finished his first year as highway maintenance technician. Jed Loftus, correctional sergeant with 18 years of service. Autumn Hagmeyer finished up her first year as an assistant county attorney. Katie Varden, our SSTS specialist with 13 years of service. Christian Oberlin, correctional officer, 2 years of service. Christy Archambault, public health, 20 years of service. Destiny Adrian, correctional officer, 1 year of service. Chris Demmel, our sign technician and highway, 30 years of service. Christine Barch, home health aide lead, 14 years of service. Tom Berger, custodial maintenance assistant with 9 years of service. Beth Youngbolt, public health nurse, 4 years of service. Sean Robbins with our sheriff's office, 12 years of service. Ethan Cousins, our assistant director of IT, 13 years of service. Adam Rector, patrol deputy, 3 years of service. And Jenna Carty, probation officer, also 3 years of service.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Congratulate these employees with their years of service and their dedication to the Steele County workforce. Next is approved final payment to JJD Companies LLC in the amount of $63,487 and 46 cents for the Steele County Courthouse and Administration parking lot. Jake.
Good evening, Commissioners. So JJD was awarded the contract for the courthouse and administration parking lot. Contract amount was $1,320,315. The project is complete. All punch list items and closeout documents are accounted for. And the final contract amount after the change orders was $1,269,749.19. So with that, I'd like to recommend approval of final payment to JJD.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that approval for the final payment JJT LLC in the amount of $62,487.46.
I'll second.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna abstain from this voting.
There's a motion and a second. Brady's abstaining. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All same sign, motion carries. Number 17, authorize solicitation of proposals for the sale of the former county highway shop located at 828 Hoffman Drive.
Alright, so the former site consists of two parcels. There was the north parcel, which was sold in 2022 through the RFP process, and then we still have the south parcel, which is obviously unsold. Prospective buyer has expressed interest in the parcel, and the county is required to use a competitive request for proposals process to sell the parcel. In response, the county administrator consulted with the facilities and fleet director to prepare a proposal for consideration by the full board. The proposal seeks approval to proceed with issuing an RFP to solicit possible offers for the sale of the former highway department site located at 828 Hoffman Drive. Attached are the forms approved by the county attorney. With that, I'd like to make the recommendation that the board authorizes the facilities and fleet director to advertise for the RFP for the sale of this property.
How would it be advertised?
We would put it on the website and then we'd also publish it in the paper.
Mr. Chair, question.
Yes.
That doesn't obligate us to any offers, right? It's just throwing it out there.
Right. I believe there's a clause in the RFP that we reserve the right to reject offers.
And, 65,200, is that the minimum bid then? Or is that the assessor's value, is that, it don't matter what the bid is?
That's the assessed value, it's 62,500. Rob, do you know is there a price that we have to have?
No,
This is not a tax forfeiture,
No,
this
this
is
is- yeah, this
competitive
is-
sale.
this is the county's property that county owns, can sell for anything. We can't negotiate with bidders, to be specific, so the bidders have to present to the board a proposal, and that's that.
And we don't have to accept.
Correct, you don't have to accept it.
Any other questions from the board? Board wishes.
I'll make a motion to approve the facilities and fleet director to advertise for request for proposal for the sale of the former highway department at 828 Hoffman Drive.
I'll second.
The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All same sign, motion carries. We have informational items in the packet, Internal Central Services Committee minutes, Property and Maintenance Committee minutes, Land Use and Records Committee minutes, the 2026 Corporation Appreciation Letters. It's also the 2025 Highway Department Annual Report, and a letter sent to property owners who have constructed a structure without obtaining the required permits. Next is commissioner reports. Do you have anything, Rob?
Nothing, okay, thank you.
Greg?
Let's see, 6:29, we had the meeting, special meeting for the review of the annex. On 7/6, I was Renee's backup at the Rotary Club. She gave basically a state of the county address to the Rotary Club, which went very well. 7th, we had property and maintenance, criminal justice, Mid-Prairie Finance, and Joint Powers Board. That was a busy day. And on the 9th, I spoke before the Chambers Policy Committee. The 13th, we had our first budget meeting. The 15th was public safety. The 21st was, I'm ahead of myself.
Yeah.
13th was our budget meeting. The 14th was our public works interview today, and a work session before the meeting tonight. Gonna be a busy couple weeks.
Yeah.
29th of June was the walkthrough on the annex. July 1st was our joint powers board of 911. The 7th was property maintenance. The 8th was soil and water conservation district. The 9th was land use records. Yesterday was the budget from 9 to noon. And today we had a work session before this meeting.
Thank you. Renee?
Just piggybacking on the comment that Commissioner Krieger said, yes, we did, we had interviews for our new public works director, and we identified a candidate that we believe would serve us well, and Gina is in the discussions. So fingers crossed that we can arrive at mutually agreeable terms. It sounds like he might be able to come on board within a couple of weeks' time, so there's just gonna be a short gap here after Ron's last day tomorrow.
Thank you. Anything else? Jim?
Alright, 29th, their special board meeting, we reviewed the annex to walk through there. On the 1st, we had a Rice Steel joint powers board, the 911 meeting. On the 2nd, a Mid-Prairie Personnel Committee meeting. On the 9th, land use and records. On the 13th, we had our budget work session, and our work session today.
Thank you. Josh?
On the 29th, the annex tour and special board meeting. On the 13th, we had our county budget meeting, and then the work session before this.
Thank you. I also attended the walkthrough of the annex, the budget meeting yesterday, a public works meeting this morning, sat in an interview this morning, and work session for this week.
I forgot public works before.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I've got a couple other things I'd like to call out. If that's okay. Received a letter and it said, I would like to thank and recognize the expert skills and prompt service I received from the Steele County GIS Department and the County Recorder Department. First, the following individuals from the GIS Department should be recognized, and that's Allie Ellingson and Nick Flatgard. In short notice, they provided a map involving a property into the east of us to help facilitate a transaction. They were professional and friendly. Second of all, there are individuals in the County Recorder's Department, Rick Caveen and Melissa Trios. Rick recently assisted me with property name changes and restrictive covenants attached to properties. A couple of years ago, Melissa helped with a mortgage release that I need. Both people were exceptionally helpful. I just think some of those things need to be called out. So it's, and the other thing was, in the last week, we've finally received notification that the lawsuit that South Country Health Alliance brought forth going back 4.5 years ago was finally resolved, and everything has been dropped, and it's now county-based purchasing all the way.
So for the public's interest, what was that for?
Well, it was, Department of Human Services was causing all kinds of issues when county-based purchasing was first initiated. It was supposed to be one plan per county, and they kept infiltrating other plans and using ways around things and all of that. And what it does is it makes it hard for individuals who qualify and apply for some of those things to know which direction to go. And South Country being a client-based company rather than a board of directors-based company does such a good job. And this way here, from now on, it will be a one-stop shop for everybody that qualifies for it. So it's a really good thing.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you for that.
Is there any other items to be brought up before this board? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
With a motion and a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All same sign, motion carries. Thanks for coming.